Podcast.
Yes! Get up! Hit!
All right, welcome back to the Gorilla Strength Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Lamb, owner of Vanilla Gorilla Strength Athletics, training facility and apparel.
I am John Davis. I am the co-host and producer of the show.
And today, I have a very special guest, if you will, Mr. Reed Tompkins.
What's up?
I say your name right?
Yeah, that works.
Do people mess your name up quite a bit?
No.
Not too bad?
Yeah, Reed's pretty easy. Tompkins, it don't matter.
Well, Tompkins, you know.
Yeah.
You never know how that goes.
Long-time competitor?
Yep.
Long-time athlete?
Yep.
Okay.
Been doing this a long time.
Yes, sir.
Pretty interesting background where you're coming from. Started out, how did you start out in your athletic career, if you will, when you were a young man?
I come from basketball. Basketball led me to the strength sports, or strength sport. Yeah, I grew up as a basketball player. As simple as that. I didn't really play much else. I look back, I wish I would have, but I just played basketball my whole life. And essentially, I was trying to be in the NBA.
Nice.
I was that guy. I wanted to be in the NBA. I thought I was going to be. And
What kid doesn't?
Yes.
You know, what kid doesn't?
Yeah, but I think it's good to have those lofty dreams. I feel like, yeah, it kind of helped me, gave me direction. I came from divorced parents and that whole thing, and basketball was that thing I could go outside when they were fighting and all that every single day, and my mom was drunk or whatever. That's what I could go outside and do. That was the thing I had, and so that kind of gave me guardrails in life, gave me a goal, and I didn't really want to do much else. School was just school, and then I didn't have any opportunities out of college at all. Like I had nothing. I barely played. I had a weird coach and all that, that story. And then
Did you play in college? Or?
No. So what happened was, I did high school, graduated, and the prospects of going to a community college, like my local, I was like, this is a joke. I got to go to the NBA. I got to do something big. So essentially, I was just looking to something big, and somehow in 2003, I got online and there was this opportunity to do a reality show, a street ball reality show. Yep. And Magic Johnson was putting it on.
Okay.
He was going to pick 12 of the best street ballers throughout the country, and they were going to compete for $100,000. And I was 22 at the time, and I'm like, that's me.
No way.
I thought that was me.
Now, that was MTV, correct?
MTV was going to put it on there. Yep, MTV was going to do this reality street ball show because that's when that was kind of coming up and popping. And so I drove 8 hours to Atlanta and tried out, and made it through the first day. Did all my little and one tricks and all my street ball tricks, and they said come back the next day. Came back the next day, and there was a ton of dudes, and there was one other white guy. And so of course they pick out of like 200 dudes. They got the two white guys in the middle of the court. They said you guys are going to play one-on-one, and Magic Johnson was there that day, and so we played one-on-one, and so that was one of those like pinnacle moments of my life. Looking back, where I'm like, nice. That moment swayed huge for me, and so I played one-on-one and I brought it. You know what I'm saying?
You had to.
I did. I put it through the guy's legs and did this whole thing, and producers came running up to me. You got an interview tomorrow, and I'm like, so that was it. And so I went to an interview the next day, and my confidence level was on 1,000,000 at that point, right? So I'm like, I'm in the interview, and they liked me because I was like a church boy and things like that, and so. Maybe a month later, my friends started calling me and say, hey, Reed, MTV just called asking about you. And I got another phone call, and like, oh, crap. And then they called me and said, hey, we're going to come.
Check.
Yeah, well, they were just kind of, I'm like, oh, I might be getting close. I might, because they had like 7 other cities to go to after Atlanta. But spring break of that year, I think it was 2003, they gave me a call and said, hey, we're going to come down, and then we're going to film your life a little bit. Magic Johnson's going to call and tell you if you made it or not. And I'm like, so I'm nervous. And so these producers came out, and they got to see the little rec center I worked at, because I worked with kids, and they got to see what I did, and they filmed my life. And then just like you see on TV, they had this moment of like the cameras there, and Magic Johnson calls, and I pick up the phone. He's like, hey, we want you to be a part of the show. And my friends and family are like, yeah, And so it was a whirlwind. And so I went to the street ball show in New York for 3 weeks, filmed it with Magic Johnson, and competed for $100,000 and did not win the $100,000. Did really well, and so from there I was like, okay, what can I do now? I can't really play college basketball. I want to do my thing. So I played around, tried to do like the semi-pro thing, which is a giant mess, and then I got a phone call one day from a guy who said, hey, I work with the Harlem Globetrotters. And so I'm like, He's like, yeah, you're not that guy, but but we got this team they play every night. They beat every night. You want to do that? And I knew because I watched them on Wild World of Sports.
We grew up with that. Yeah,
I even watched them on Scooby Doo, the Harlem Globetrotters. So
and that where they're bouncing the ball off your head and all kinds
something
of shit.
like that, wasn't it? So they called me to say, do you want to be a Washington General? And that was the team they travel every night. So I'm like,
I remember that.
I get paid to play basketball and I'm traveling, and so I signed on with them and. I did 107 dates throughout the whole Northeast with the Harlem Globetrotters, and there's real basketball, and then there's like the show part where they bounce it off your head or they goose you. I have an amazing picture where they're like getting me from behind, and then the next day I wake up and it's in the newspaper in Lake Placid, New York,
nice.
and I still have that. So it was awesome, but I learned within about a month. These are grown men playing basketball, like grown professional basketball players, and
big boys.
I was 24 and I never liked lifting weights. Growing up playing basketball, I never lifted. I hated it, made me sore. I didn't like it. I wanted to play basketball, throw off my shot and all that. So about a month into the thing, these guys beat the hell out of me just physically. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I've got to get stronger. Like that was that catalyst of like, so I'm on the road still and I'm online looking up, and at that time there wasn't a lot of information that I found. It was all bodybuilding splits, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, that. Me and my friend would go train and do chest and try. We'd do 9 exercises for every. You know, we're that guy.
Bro split stuff.
We're that. That's all I ever knew, and I hated that. And so what happened was, I got back from the Globetrotters. I was like, no, I'm not doing this more. And I found like T Nation.
Oh yeah.
This was like 2006. Found T Nation and. I found Joe DeFranco.
Yeah.
That's from him. I found like the West Side stuff. I found the conjugate stuff, and I didn't know I didn't know any of that stuff at all. But Joe DeFranco was the first person I saw his like West Side for Athletes template, and I go, oh, you don't have to do a chest and try day, like a back and back. It's upper body, lower splits. I learned about speed days. I still didn't know what I was doing, but I figured like I was interested. And in T Nation, I just absorbed everything. So I got into that. And so Joe DeFranco, he started doing like sled pushes and tire stuff for his athletes, and I like that stuff. And so I was trying to get into that.
It's more functional stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and at the time, I just thought it was cool and kind of hardcore looking. And I don't want to do chest flies. I don't want to do flies. I lift the tire, pull that sled around. Okay, I love that stuff. And I love being like an athlete, you know, and it made me feel like the best part was the dividends it paid at basketball. Like all of a sudden, that was the first time I could dunk. Like I couldn't dunk as a kid.
Really?
I started doing like squats. I was probably quarter squatting. Let's keep it real.
Right.
But I was doing box jumps and quarter squats and just trying to figure out what I was doing. And I was starting to dunk. I was starting to push people out the way. I'm like, I get it. Like the whole.
To feel it.
Yeah. Dudes were not pushing me around. When I fouled somebody, they felt it. So that was a huge confidence boost as far as the training world goes, and like going, oh, this has. Whatever. So that's kind of how it started for me.
Cool.
Yeah. So
where did you grow up at?
I'm an Iowa boy.
Iowa.
I grew up in Sioux City, Iowa was born, and then I lived in Nebraska, which is like across the bridge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I grew up there and then moved to Arizona through a divorced family and things like that, and then had the alcoholic mom, the classic story and stuff. So, you know, lived that whole life.
Wow.
The evil stepdad, like that's my story. You know what I'm saying?
Two
Like,
rows above.
yeah.
Really.
So technically, you should have been a wrestler coming from
From Midwest.
Yeah. I had wrestling. Yeah, but I think it still helps me on some things. Like I'm still good at farmers walks, no matter what I do. Even though I ain't done no farm work in my whole life, so who knows? But yeah, it carries over a little bit. Yeah. And I love that. I love having that. I just like it's different. You know, so, I love being from Iowa.
So talk about like the time in between basketball is kind of coming to an end. How do you find strongman? How long of a gap was that before you came into?
Well, I was trying to play basketball still. I was trying to find these little teams, and I remember reading this quote sometime. I don't know who said it, but it was like something like, sometimes you follow your dream so long you get lost. And for some reason, I'm not a big quote guy, but because it's usually corny. But for whatever reason, I read that and I'm thinking, I'm going to be this 30-year-old dude that's going to be overseas on the road with my family here, making peanuts, going home chase. So it started becoming that, you know, and I started getting kind of like, what am I doing here? And I went into business for myself, started teaching kids sports, and I kind of did that because I needed money just to try to play basketball, and so it was this little side hustle at first, and so I started doing that, and I'm like, man, I kind of love this. All right, maybe I'm not supposed to travel. And then I started loving lifting even more. Like I love the science of it, I love the art of it. Like there was no set way, which made me insane. Like just tell me what to do and I'll do that. But with training, like, it's an art form. Like you have to figure out and train. And I kind of like became obsessed with that, and Joe DeFranco stuff, and then T Nation, and then the powerlifting stuff, and basketball started just getting boring. Like I got to rely on these dudes or getting technical fouls. Like I kind of like the idea of just lifting. It's me in that bar or whatever that thing is. Like there's no refs are jerking me around the day. There's nothing that day. So I just felt like more and more that way. Well, the Joe DeFranco thing, I was finding tires to go flip on my own. I went and had like a sled made way too big. I don't know why I had to make a sled that was literally 4 feet by 4 feet. I paid so much money. All I needed to do was have it off the ground, like you see nowadays.
Prowler like.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm pulling in the back of my gym one day, and I'm looking as I'm on T Nation looking at sports, and that was the first time going, oh, there's weight classes. Because I remember I saw CrossFit, and I was like, ugh. I'm not doing wall balls. I'm not doing sumo high pulls. Like that's ridiculous. Way too much endurance. Like I like basketball where it's like da 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 da. Powerlifting? Oh no, dude, that's 3 lifts. All right, cool. I like deadlifting. I love deadlifting. The only thing I was good at, hated squatting. I was box squatting because of DeFranco. That's all I ever did. Was box squat. Right. Yeah, I lost a lot though. I'm 3 inches above parallel. It was ridiculous. But so I saw strongman, but of course, like everybody saw, they see world's strongest man. That's all they think of. So you're like,
one division.
I'm not going to do this. Yeah. And then T Nation through some like message boards and I was like, oh, there's weight classes. Yeah.
This is before YouTube and social media.
2005, 2000.
Because I think back then you had T Nation, and then you had a couple.
Morunde Muscle.
Morunde.
Facebook was coming around, but you didn't have groups. You didn't have things.
Used to be one called the Anvil.
The Anvil.
You remember that one?
That was the first. That was it.
Yeah, there was no other.
But it was kind of nice because that was it. Like there was that. There was not 1,000 different voices like there is now telling you this is the right.
Too much information.
Yeah, so I just studied Morunde Muscle. I started going to look at numbers. I thought bench was the same as log press. I'm like, I can bench about 275 on my best day ever. A 270 log, that's doable.
Right.
Learn quick.
But that's when I learned about weight classes. That definitely. So I was like, I'm going to do this. But then, of course, I didn't have any equipment. I didn't have anything. I didn't know where to do. And it was so weird. It was like this weird. It was supposed to happen because in those days, nobody had strongman stuff.
What year is this?
2000. My first show was 2012, so it's probably 2011 or 10, right?
Yeah.
So there's not standardized equipment.
Right.
There's not Rogue. There's not. Nobody had an axle. Like there was nothing.
I think you, like we talked about before, you had the only camp per se in Florida was Tom Mitchell.
But I didn't have any entry point to get into that. Like I didn't even
you didn't
know
Tom Mitchell.
Dude, I didn't know nothing. Like I just saw strongman on the thing, and so I'm like, how am I going to start doing this sport? I found a log on eBay.
No way.
A pit bull. So I still have it to this day.
One of the best ever, dude.
$200. I'm going to buy a log. I just bought a log. I didn't know what I was doing. The weird thing is, so then the next day, this gym I had been going to for like 2 years. I never even knew. I've been going there for a long time. I see this door on it, this back secret door that's locked, and it's got a name like Richard Gregg. And
no way.
Oh boy.
And I'm just, and this is like the same exact time this is all happening. I'm getting interested in it, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I started looking at like Rob Orlando's strongman wad stuff. I'm like, maybe I'll do a little hybrid stuff. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, because Rob at the time was a strongman competitor, but then he was the go-to for CrossFit.
And then he made this little connection. We had this little site called Strongman Wad. It was like
hybrid
Strongman
stuff.
And and I'm like, oh, I'll do that. I'll be ripped at 185. You know?
Right.
And so this door was open one day at the gym, and I look in there, and I'm like, oh.
So there was an aura.
There's like stones, and there's a rack, and there's like there's things I don't even know. There's this coffin-shaped thing on the floor, and I'm like, this guy does strongman, dude. So I call this number, and this guy Rich is like, hey, he's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. I don't know what he said. I'm like, he's like, I'll call you when I get back in. Okay. I don't get a call. So literally like maybe 3 weeks later, I'm at the gym. I'm pulling the sled outside in the back by myself, just pulling the sled because that's what I was doing. And he rolls up in his truck. He's like, hey man, I got a sled. And I'm like, yeah, all right. I already know this because I saw him this day, but I'm like, all right. And he's like, and I'm like, hey man, it was weird because I'm pretty prideful, but I was like, hey man, I'll just follow you around. I'm like a 30-year-old dude at this point. I'm like, dude, I'll follow you around. I just want to get stronger and try the sport. And he was like, all right, let's do it. And just showed up the next day and started doing training with him. And that's, you know what I'm saying? And then from there, the next day, it's gonna sound weird, but I saw this big fat dude walk in with a unibrow, and I go,
I know who this is.
Hey, that's the strange dude I see at church every week. I know that guy. Comes out, it's Mongo, who's later was one of my best friends, and still this day is one of my best friends. But
good guy.
Crazy strong back then too,
dude.
Crazy.
I thought he was the fat kid from church, and then he's pulling like five. And my best pull is like 405.
Yeah.
He's pulling 500 for reps, and I'm like,
Yeah.
What the? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
I remember seeing Mongo back in the day at powerlifting before strongman.
Yeah.
And just a strong kid, man.
Dude, he's just
Super
built
strong
for it.
kid.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's just infuriating because he just has it like that
Yeah,
from not
yeah.
having to do anything. But so then from there, I was like, we had a little. There was a little crew, like 3 of us, and I just did my best to keep up with them. And Mongo was strong, Rich was strong. I was the guy that was like, hey guys, can we take a plate off and put on some time? I was that guy for like months and months and months.
So I remember the first time I saw you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think me and Alan went.
You came up. You came up to the gym.
We
and
came up there. First, I think we were there to look at the H-stone.
had
that
to be
would have been
because
a big dog?
we ended up doing the H stone. That coffin looked.
Yes,
I didn't know
big-
what it was.
Big stone and what was it? A big dog.
It was a big dog, strong
300
one.
pounds unloaded. And I remember at the time, like, I'm a 200-pound competitor, and I'm struggling with this shit, dude. And then I'd never met you, and Rich is like, yeah, this kid came in, man. And I remember you were pretty skinny then.
That's funny.
185.
Yeah.
I had a frame on me, but just skinny dude. You know, playing basketball, you don't.
Now, was that the first time that you would touch the H stone when I was there?
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
So Reed walks up to this stone and just picks it up and starts walking with
Well,
it.
no,
Like
I struggled this thing because you know like each H stone
Dude.
tips on you.
yeah, but once you got it up, I just remember you killing it, and I was like,
I had so much pride in. I had so much of like show these guys.
Yeah.
I wish I still had that. Like
I still remember that,
That
dude.
feeling of like wanting to prove yourself to people you would like look up to, and they're stronger than you. Like, there's something about that time with that innocence when you first start and you're at the
Oh, yeah.
bottom rung and you just want to get better. And
The
you're just-
ignorance of it
you're-
all.
Yeah, but there's something beautiful about that
Mm-hmm.
ignorance of just blind, just full of piss and vinegar and just want to. So I struggled getting this. I couldn't pick. You know, you tip it over and you row it up.
Right,
and
right.
You gotta take,
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't. That thing would fall flat, boom, like 4 times in a row, and I'm just. I struggled. It probably took me 20 seconds to get it up, but once I got it up, I had them basketball endurance, and I'm just like,
I just remember- yeah.
I'm trying to prove everybody in the gym that I can do something. You know, when you don't have anything, the one thing you do have,
yeah.
you're trying to. So it was that, and that's where I met Scott and Alan.
Okay.
I think Alan maybe a week later, like that, he gave me my initiation to stones. He's like, we're doing stones, and I'm like, all right, where's you guys use tape? He's like, no, you're not using tape. I'm like, all right, well, it was cool for the 200 pound. It was cool for 275, which I think I ended up getting once. I was just, and then
Tore up.
Well, then he goes, and I'm tacky, and he goes, all right, now you can use tacky. And he took this glove and he's like, and it was like, but I'm being that guy.
Of
like,
course.
oh, this is what you did.
This is nothing.
So I had that for like a month, but that was my initiation to strongman. And so then Rich was like, "Hey, we're doing a show in February. We're all doing it." And so I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. That's what. All right." And my first show we talked about earlier today, I rolled up and I did a 200 class. I didn't have to cut weight. I didn't want to do novice. Mongo was doing novice, and for whatever reason, I liked that challenge, but of the weights were heavier. Like I was going to struggle, but I like that about myself. I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Went into a show. Scott was there. Elliot Holtz was there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I remember him because he was big time then, like
Yes.
online. And I remember like,
Yeah.
oh man, I know who that guy
Yeah,
is.
Big presence.
Yeah, I didn't follow him or nothing, and but I knew who he was. So he won. Scott got second. I got third, and I was all in after that. Like I
That was
didn't
it.
do real well. You know what I'm saying? There was some really tough events. It was a Tom Mitchell show, which anybody
Right.
who knows Florida
Oh, yeah.
Strongman.
Brutal.
Tom Mitchell was like, yeah, no joke. And I wish I missed that cut. I'm on that really brink of that was his last show. I
his
wish
last
I
one.
could have been around more for that because now that Tampa
And
Bay scene was big.
Tom was such a good guy, man. He was just no nonsense.
Yeah.
And he was old school. Like, if you remember, he changed 2 distances in that comp because it was supposed to be 75 feet. It was a backward sled pull, 500 pound. I remember this.
Yeah.
And then it was a low handle prowler
Pushback.
back for 100 feet.
I was moonwalking. My feet
Everybody,
couldn't get grip. It was
listen, there's videos.
just, yeah, struggle.
Alan I could not walk.
Yeah.
I remember it took me at least 20 minutes to recover from it, and it was the only time I remember saying, I may not make it to the next event. I was so wrecked on it.
Wow.
Yeah, the prowler thing. There's something about that. We did it in training too, leading up to that show.
So
and
bad.
You see Jesus. It's something
Yeah.
weird, dude, when you're done with that event. But that event,
And
then
I
there was
remember Elliot was the only one to finish that. And I got within about 4 to 5 feet, and I just could not do it.
Brutal.
And then everybody else was smart because they were like, the hell with it. They would do it like 20 feet and walk
And, like,
away.
yeah, they
I'm
weren't struggling.
dying. And I remember thinking, like, I might not make it to the next event. And as soon as I recovered, I remember Vince Urbank was the judge.
Yep.
And it was Farmer's deadlift. You
The
remember
reps.
that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, I was dying. I was dying, man. But that was the thing with Tom. You would get there, and he would say, "Hey, we're going to do this instead." And this is strongman boys. Like,
Yeah.
there was no complaining. Like, get out of here.
You just had to do it or walk away.
And
Tom was old school.
The last event I believe was a like 90 feet cake carry and then load for reps. Like,
yeah, softball on that platform.
That was my first show, so I'm like, oh, you know, I don't know nothing, or those were standards in my brain of like distances.
Do you remember it was cold as hell too? I remember it being very, very
it was
cold.
It was a parking lot. It was the old school parking lot days. Like when you roll up and like, this is where
park.
it's at.
It was like a park in St.
like a
Pete
rec
or
center.
Clearwater.
Yeah.
Wow.
And after that, I was hooked, and so from there it was just like it was on. Like this was my sport, and I haven't stopped since.
So and that was 2012?
2012. Well, February 11th, 2012.
Yeah, because I remember, and then fast forward a couple years, you know, obviously there's stuff in between, but you were in Reno with we had a big Florida crew that year.
Yep.
I mean, there was a bunch of us, man.
Yeah.
That's when everybody used to roll. I even feel like that was different because back then, Florida, your states would kind of stick together.
Yeah.
I feel it's a lot more divided now.
It is. Everybody's got their own coach. Everybody's got their own little thing,
It
their
just
own
wasn't,
crew.
you know, we would all kind of get together to go to these big
Camaraderie.
comps. So, and everybody, I think it's kind of different now. But back then, you know, once you got into it, my main goal was, you know, I want to do a state comp and do well, and then nationals. You know, I want to go to nationals, and then if you're in the nationals for a couple of years, the holy grail was the Arnold. There was nothing higher than the Arnold.
Well, there was only one corporation. Strongman Corp was it. There was no any. There was one option, Strongman Corp, and in Strongman Corp, you did a local show, you qualified for nationals, and then you went to the Super Bowl, which was the Arnold. That was it. And then I don't know how many years I was into the sport where Willie came out with USS, and then that obviously we've all seen what that happened. But there was no other option. There was no Clash of the Coast or no PF. There was no anything. So there was one option. And I wanted a pro card. Like, to me, like getting a pro card, like it didn't mean anything. You didn't get anything, but it was this goal, and I still have that goal.
You've been extremely close.
Really close, but it's always been that thing. So it's like that's where I come from now, even where I do things, because I have that mentality. But there's many options, which is great. But that's kind of why I think with the corp stuff, I'm just kind of locked into that and have been for the most part, just because it's the only option.
What was the first year you made it to the Arnold? Because you've been the Arnold multiple times. So
yeah, I've qualified like 3 or 4 times, which is awesome. My first year was 2000. It was Davenport 2000.
Oh, in Iowa.
Yeah, it was.
So that would have been
2015, something 16, maybe something. They
like
did
it 2 years in a row there.
Yeah.
Then I think that was 15, 16.
Yeah, because I did a Tampa Bay show with Donnie. It was my second show, and then I think the first show I won was you and Weech put on one, Central Floors. That was the first show I won, which was a big deal for me. I think I probably got my qualifier through that.
Okay.
Because I did Alan's show. My first year of Alan's show, I'll never forget this.
That would be Florida's Strongest Man.
Florida's Strongest Man was, and that was a big one. It had, I remember it was a 230. It was a 235 log. The big dog log strong was the first of it.
Always
zeroed that thing. Zeroed that thing. It did really bad. And Alan at the end was having like ribbons, you know, the joke I think, or no, it was a goodie bag he was passing out for competitors. And so when I get up the line, Alan turns to me and goes, "Oh, you competed?" Ooh. Yeah, it's been 13 years something. It's still with me, bro. And I'll tell him like it's all right. It's like that. Yeah, but I've won it 3 times now. You know what I mean? Like I've won. Yeah, so I got that back. But those are little things that matter to me. I think it's important to have those, have some pride. But there was that, and then I got to the nationals. First nationals was Reno, and that year was all about Alan because everybody wanted to get his pro card, and that was a big deal. And that's when you guys had the Wolf Pack.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like when you was like you battle like all those guys.
Yeah, we had a hell of a crew that year, man.
And I should have taken advantage of that more. That's kind of when Rich stepped away, so it was just me and Mongo, and that's like the blind leading the blind at the time. You know what I'm saying? As far as like knowing what the hell we're doing, I had jumped in and done a Clydesdale Games. Mike Jenkins, the late Mike Jenkins, he came out with this. MHP had sponsored him to do it. Like called the Clydesdale Games, and it was a CrossFit / strongman thing. So I was still kind of in that world where I didn't see CrossFit was still okay.
Right.
It was insane, and so I decided to do it. I got Mike Westerling to do my coaching at the time, and it was literally first event was a 600 yoke down, 50 double unders.
Oh God.
50 wall balls with a 35-pound wall ball, and then the 600 back. That was event 1.
Wow.
Event 2 was a 100-pound kettlebell swing for 12. Then you run down, you put the kettlebell in, then a sandbag in this thing, and another thing in this thing, and then all these kettlebell swings in between. Then you haul the damn sled back. Then a press medley that wasn't bad. It was just all these. I didn't get very far because I wasn't strong. Then it was a tire flip for 15 with a stone over the shoulder for 15, then 9, then 6 and 6, whatever little the worst, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So I was still kind of in that world, but long story short, went to Reno. I remember I'm always looking for my weight class guys. That's who I want to be. And Battle Axe at that time.
So you were 231.
I had to. Like,
okay.
I wasn't, I don't even think I had cut weight that time. But
so how tall are you? You're pretty
I'm
tall.
6'1".
Yeah, so you're a taller guy.
I was
yeah.
beanpole. You
You're
know what I'm saying?
real skinny as a 200.
Yeah, and I thought about it just from like I wanted to win, but it wasn't going to happen. My frame was just too big, and I started putting on muscle, training with Rich and Mongo, and whatever. So yeah, Reno wasn't good, but I remember coming up and training for that show as a car deadlift.
Yep.
Battle Axe was there. It was the first time I met Battle Axe, and he pulled like a rep or two, and he's wilding out. Got a mohawk, I believe, and just acting crazy. And I'm like, all right, that's the guy. I gotta beat that guy.
Heavy,
that's
heavy car deadlifts.
Yeah, oh yeah,
heavy.
Reno was Reno. I didn't do very well. Alan won his pro card. It was awesome. And then from there, it was just on. You know what I'm saying? I think I went to Florida Strong. I think Battle Axe might have beat me that year. I turned to him and said, I'm coming. I turned to him. He's smoking a cigar. He's like, he's at the thing. I'm like, I'm coming. So that for me was huge, having somebody to like go against. I'm just that person. Like, I'm all about PRs, but like having that person to like come to chase in a sense. And then, he never beat me again. So that makes me feel good. And went to nationals that year in Davenport. Made it to the Arnold. Went to the Arnold. I think I got 6 at the Arnold, and that was with 0 in the log. And
that's a damn good finish, though, man.
Yeah, and so
and let me kind of interject there, like because making it to the Arnold back then was different too, because they didn't have this big percentage program like they did now. Like the first year I made it in 2014 was in Reno.
Yeah,
and we had that huge crew.
Yep.
Rich, you, John Adams.
Yep.
Mike.
Alan.
Me, Alan, and then. Outside of that, the Florida crew was still nasty because you had Rich Stout,
Yep.
You know, nasty 175.
Mongo,
you.
Yep.
You had other guys from down south too.
Yeah, you might have.
Brandon McDonald. Multiple time
he was a 200 man.
He won again that year in Reno.
Yes, he did.
You know, 2-time national champion. So we had a hell of a presence in Florida.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys.
But back then, like I know for the smaller classes like us, you had to make top 4 to guarantee your way in.
Yep.
And then somewhere along the line, they changed the percentage bullshit, which I kind of don't agree with. And it just, I don't know if it was a money thing but back then it was more of an international presence too, because at the time Arnold still was the only one in the world was here. That's before they started doing
all the other ones.
Asia.
Oh yeah, there was one here,
Brazil and Australia. Yeah. So it was really cool back then because it was Team USA. Remember that? The Team USA jacket.
I had the Team USA jacket, yep.
It was, man, even if you went there and got your ass beat, which I did, I was still very proud to have made it there. Yeah, and the way I made it, I was very happy with that.
It was an honor. And I will say this, like I just did nationals for Strongman Corp 2 weeks ago, and I think I had 32 guys. There was in the 70s back in those days. Like the first few years I went to nationals back then, I remember getting like 35th my first years because there was like 70 guys. And it becomes a whole different animal with that many guys. Yeah, some guys are not very good, but just from a placement standpoint, a point standpoint, there's so many points available. If you zero something or have a real bad event, you're done. And so it's a little bit different now with smaller classes and stuff.
And I still believe, let's say like you're talking about, but I still even think on the 231 division, if you finish top 10, 15, you're still
for sure, you're good.
You're doing pretty damn good.
Yeah, you're good. It's hard. It's a whole different now for preparation to like the day of and warming up and weighing in and being in lines and waiting and picking when you're going to go and having to sit in the back and being mentally on and it's a whole different than a local comp where it's just kind of a it's just different. You know what I'm saying? Different mentality, different speed, all those things. So that kind of got me up to speed. Went to the Arnold a few times and and then my whole thing with that, at the end of the day, is like I'm never going to make a lot of money. I never expected to. I don't coach. I've always kind of had to take pride in going, no, I'm not going to train you. Like I don't want it. I just never felt smart enough to do that for people. I've always felt like it's a big deal. But then I have learned over the years it must not be that hard because lots of people are doing it. I'm like,
just look at social media.
And I've tried here and there. I've helped people out here, and it wasn't really my thing. And so I don't know. And I always took pride in like being, I'm the one guy that doesn't coach everybody, or I didn't win a show, and now I'll do your nutrition and your mental prep, and I'll.
How many times have we seen that?
Like, I won and so I always took pride in being that contrarian a little bit and not doing that, and have my own thing outside of strongman as far as making my money. But so my whole look at it has been just like experience as much as you can experience. Like you don't know. I've seen so many guys get injured and life gets in the way, and it's like you don't get to do this forever. Right. So I'm like, at the end of the day, when I look back, yeah, I want to win, and I'm gonna win, and I have won, and I'm gonna lose, and I'm gonna learn from those things. But at the end of the day, like, what can I experience? That's why the Clydesdale game with Mike Jenkins, like, it was horrible, but I got to do that.
Right.
That was awesome. And like the Clash on the Coast, which I did a few years with the firm, with all the 105 guys, and being on ESPN and being on the beach, and like, that experience was awesome. You know what I'm saying? So, and things like that, doing the Arnold, doing USS Nationals before. I got second there in 2017. Just doing a plethora of different things. I think, you know, local shows too.
You were extremely close to your pro card. How many times?
I've been close twice. I've gotten fourth twice.
Stupid
Wow.
close.
First year I was sitting in second place. This is the rough one.
Is this your bicep? Or?
Yeah, so I was in second place. My mom literally, this is not, but I was going hard. My mom had just passed away like 2 weeks prior. And so I'm like, I'm doing this, you know, I'm having all a movie montage, you know what I'm saying? And I'm in second place. We go to stone to shoulder. It's a 280 stone to shoulder, which is nothing for me. I'm like, dude, you just got to get about four reps, and it's a wrap. Dude, you got this pro card. And that first rep, I just felt, I had all these issues going to my forearm going in, and I felt, and I never experienced a bicep tear, but I felt it go. And I felt the slap bracelet kind of feel of like that go up. And that's the first rep. I ended up doing 2 more reps, I believe.
Did you really?
Yeah, which I felt prideful at the time, but you're just in panic mode of like, oh shit,
Right.
it's
That
slipping
adrenaline.
through my finger. You know.
Yeah.
Long story short, it wasn't in the cards, so I got fourth, and so that was a tough deal. You know what I'm saying? So now I got a torn bicep. We literally drove to my mom's funeral from Nationals in Iowa.
Jeez.
Yeah, with the torn bicep, and I had no insurance. You know what I'm saying?
So that was the year that they had changed it to Iowa because of the hurricanes here.
I believe so.
Yes.
2008. No, because that was 2020.
Okay.
So that was a year later. So this might be
okay.
2019 is when I did that. I tore the bicep, and then they were
Okay.
supposed to do West Palm the next year.
Right.
Hurricane, boom, we went back to Davenport.
Right.
Got fourth again. I trained my ass off, got the bicep healed up. You know, that's a journey in itself. I had to get 2 different surgery things because they had gotten so far up there because I had waited like 6 weeks or some shit, no insurance. And trained my ass off, went back. I think I had one bad event. Husafeld just did. I think, to be honest with you, I think at the time, like, when I cut weight and I refeed the next day, sometimes my stomach don't like, like that stomach.
Right.
Sometimes your stomach don't like what you're giving to. When I got to that Husafeld, man, my stomach didn't like that Husafeld. It was like, it just wasn't happening for me. So I think that and just a couple, I just fell short, got fourth again. So
Wow.
I know Kenzie was with me. That was a rough go because it's like just being, you know what I'm saying, just being there.
So close.
Yeah. And so then from there, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I went to the Clash on the Coast, made it to the top 10, went back the last day or whatever on ESPN.
Nice.
I don't think I trained Stones a lick going into that show just because you had like 9 things to train for.
That was like the last man standing one, right? Like
No, that wasn't. That was just
wasn't
a
it?
rep. That was like a who can do the heaviest stone. The next year was the thing. This was
okay.
like who can do the heaviest stone. And like, I didn't even have to do it. It was a 465 stone. I hadn't trained stones going in, but man, I got the cameras on me. I'm like the second one to go. I'm like, I'm doing it. I pulled on that thing till I literally tore my own bicep. Like, it wasn't the stone doing it. It was like just me pulling so hard with an immovable stone that it just went, I'm like, ah. So there goes my second bicep,
There
right?
we go again.
Yeah, it was a little easier the second time. It's still just a pain in the ass
Yeah.
and all those things. And if anybody's been through that, but
Been there and done that.
There's
yeah.
so much valuable information from guys that have been there and reassurance and stuff. I didn't go crazy with the protocols and stuff. I went some peptides and did that, and then just pure like wanting to get back as soon as I can. Just start training and being, trying to figure it out because everybody's different on what works and what doesn't. So
Well, I think that's a big part of it, and we talked about this before as far as like the mindset of injury,
Yeah.
which is that's a whole different animal. It's a lot easier to stay motivated and all this bullshit when everything's just great and there's no issues, but
Yeah.
to keep your mind focused and determined when you do have it, and it's especially when it's a slow process. That's and you have to be very smart at that point because I'm a pretty intense guy. I know you've been known for that as well.
Yeah.
Imagine that. But having to really, you got to kind of harness that and pull it back
Yeah.
to be smart. That's hard, man. That's
or
really
just like we
hard.
were talking earlier, sometimes it can make you not want to do anything. Like, you can't do
Right.
the things you love to do, like use your arms
Kinda
or
all or
press.
nothing type
Like, I
thing.
don't want to go and squat for the 3rd time this week. Man,
Yeah, at
it's
135.
hard. Yeah,
You know
it's
what I mean?
hard. It's hard. That's the hard. I think the mental battle. That's why I don't think many people do strongman very long, because mentally it is hard, and not even so much the injuries too, but like days where I haven't gotten stronger for a month, or,
Right.
or I'm feeling like trash all the time, or I get a little tweak in here and it just keeps coming back. There's so many different things, and then competing's a whole. I was telling Kenzie just the other day about. not everybody can show up and compete. Like, you got to be a different, like, it's not easy. A lot of people.
Game day guy.
Yeah. Or they can show up and compete, but they don't do their best. And I know a lot of guys, especially in the 231s, that talk a lot online, and a lot of people think they're really cool guys and they're really strong and they're all this. And then come competition,
Yeah.
I see their name, but it's way down there at the because they're just not built.
And the other thing about that I don't want to say it bothers me, but I think it's very odd, is you do have a lot of guys nowadays that talk a whole bunch of shit going up to these comps, and then when it doesn't go right, or something happens, nothing ever gets talked about. Like, hey man, you said you were about to murder everybody. I feel like just calling people out, and not that I'm trying to be a dick about it, but what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm the type, and I think you don't really.
I like it though. I like it because if it's somebody that I'm going against or whatever,
just feeds you.
feeds me, dude.
Yeah.
I like it. Like, yo, you're
But
that
I still
guy.
want to know.
Oh yeah,
I
but they're
still
not
wanna know
going. That's
that.
the internet. That's the power of the internet. You can say, you can bark. We were talking about this like with the coaching and everything. It's so much like marketing versus merit these days. I feel like all you gotta do is market yourself. Merit doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean a lot.
And we know
anymore.
some coaches that have a lot of merit, but they don't have. But people don't seek them out because you have other people that just market the hell out of themselves.
Presence now. It's all presence now.
And they may not know what they're talking about, or they may not have the experience, but they market themselves. They bark a lot. They bark loud, and
Well, it's like an advertisement. It's in your head.
over and over.
Yeah.
And you tell somebody how great you are over and over. You might tell 10 people. 9 of them are
Somebody's
going to
gonna
believe you. One person
Yeah.
may not be like, "Are you full of shit?" But 9 of them are like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about." So that's taken over.
Sadly.
But, yeah, but it's weird because it's like I have a history with the sport, and I have lots of friends who are in the sport, but I don't make any money. I don't have no skin in the game, but I still have this like what's right kind of feeling sometimes. I'm like, yo, like when people are like that, like, yo, you're gonna talk all this trash and you show up and get 7th, like, or you have all these people online thinking you're somebody and you don't even do shows in Florida no more or something. Like you just disappear. Yeah, I love retiring people. I've retired a couple dudes. It's true. I've retired a couple guys. You don't even see them no more. They were barking real loud and then
They disappear.
crickets.
I can see what you're saying, man, because I'm the same way. Like, people, if even if they do kind of talk trash to me or whatever, dude, you're not going to affect me like you think you are. You're just going to piss me
helps,
off.
dude.
And
I
I'm
need
just
it.
going to really.
I'm at
try
the
to
point
bring
now.
it.
Like we talked. I need that hate. It sounds bad. I kind of
Oh, I
need
run
it.
on it, yeah.
Like getting PRs is cool and winning is cool, but putting somebody in their place is really cool, especially when they're talking trash. Because I'm not much of that guy. I don't have a lot online that I'm going to say, and it gets for what what I'm saying. Yeah. So I don't really talk, but the guys that do, it always comes back around. But that's the power of the internet, man. You can just avoid what you want to avoid and highlight what you want. It's an interesting dynamic that I'm grateful because when I came to the sport, Morande Muscle, you had nothing, and so now to see the evolution of everything, whether it be equipment, whether it be the standardization, whether it be the online stuff, it's been interesting to see.
Well, like even on like I think it was Morande Muscle, that because back then you had guys. I remember Kilbeck was one of them.
Yeah.
They would post all of their training logs.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about that, but to be honest with you, I thought Kale was like a bad dude. Not to say that he wasn't in his own right as a 175er,
Yeah.
but I remember competing against him in 2011. That was Tunica, Mississippi.
And then you realize.
That was my first comp, and I beat him.
Yeah, then you realize.
So I was like, oh, shit.
Oh.
So I'm not going to believe everything I see on here
right.
because it's kind of smoke and mirrors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's just like when you show up to competitions, you got the one guy who's trend out, who's running around with his shirt off, going, mean mugging everybody. And then game day, I don't really see him. He's over the corner because he just got his ass kicked for 3 events, but he's jacked and looks good. Yeah, it just
Doesn't really matter.
It doesn't always carry over that way.
I mean, there's guys in this sport, we talk about like a guy like Brett Fain, dude.
Yeah.
Brett Fain is not muscled up.
No.
He's not. He looks like your average, soccer dad.
Yep.
And the dude can show up and just maul people.
Yeah, that's the best. That's Zach McCarley. That's a
Zach
lot of guys.
McCarley.
That's Brandon McDonald.
Dude, yeah,
Brandon McDonald. When I first saw him, like, board shorts, bro. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, just
talk about a game day guy too.
Yeah.
And Brandon wasn't the most popular guy
No,
behind
but
the scenes.
But hey,
And he didn't care.
yeah, that's what I like about him. I think it was from Florida too, and I don't know why. And he always was super cool to me and gave me tips and super good guy.
And was a absolute gamer.
Savage,
Yeah,
yeah.
when he showed up, but there again, and the other thing about Brandon, he was very smart, dude.
Yeah.
He could manipulate shit.
Oh, and he used to bounce the stone off the ground.
bounce stone off the ground. The way he would put his feet so far out. I believe they changed the rules because of Brandon on the car
deadlift. Yeah.
And they even changed the rule. They started taping, like, you can't have your feet out because Brandon, and how he did it, I don't know. I tried it before. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, he figured it out.
But he would
Leverage.
manipulate stuff.
He's the one who told me to grab the yoke when on the stone over yoke, and he kind of do the.
Oh,
old,
and
he's the
they
one that, they got it.
and they ban that too.
I respect that though.
Yeah.
That's why when at rules,
Yeah.
rules meetings now, like especially big shows and national
Oh
shows,
God, the questions, dude.
anybody who's been there once or twice already knows that you're in for about 30 minutes of the dumbest questions you're
Stupid.
ever. And not even with dumb questions, but they don't realize if they don't address it, you can probably do it. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
hey, don't ask about the tacky towels, because if they don't say no tacky towels,
Well-
we can use tacky towels.
Look at nationals on that the steeplechase sandbag where the guy left it on.
Yes, I saw that video.
Dude, it's not in the rules.
No, and nobody asked, but there
And
were some
you know-
dumbass questions.
But
I
you
was
know
there.
they're going to change that.
Oh, they have to,
They're gonna
and I
change
respect that. That's fine, but I don't mind pushing the boundaries. I just the dumb questions and all that, and just
But the fact that guy did that, I loved it. Dude.
oh
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah. When you're thinking
Smart.
well, I've seen like I think it was a joke, but Deffenbaugh was doing the Denny Stones and he was spinning
Swinging?
with them. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was joking, but
But it worked.
that mentality. Because when I came in the sport, like for example, I remember Rich Gregg telling me how to lift kegs, and you got to do it this way, and you sit down deep, and then you go. Okay, I could not do it, but then one time. I was getting time. They said go, and I grabbed it and I just kind of threw it up, and I grabbed it because I'm more explosive than strong, so I just threw it up and grabbed it, and it was like way faster. But Rich is more staticky, where he would sit
Right.
down there. He was stones. He would sit down there and collect himself and re-grip, and I'm like, I'm springy or nothing.
Gotta
dude.
get it and go.
But learning everything, even now, that's why it's hard for me to coach, because I'm like, you got to kind of find your way. Like there's
Right.
there's going to be certain things you got to do, but you also got to find your way. There might not be a wrong or right way, and leverages and strength and your experience, and so it gets tricky. That's why I'm always like, figure it out when
Yeah.
somebody asks me something. Like you just got to kind of figure it out.
Well, I think that kind of leads to, the importance of a good group of guys, or guys and girls in a good strongman crew. There really is something to be said
It's
about
lost. I think it's gone now.
A lot of it
You
is.
see it in powerlifting still. Like I see some of the guys up in Daytona, the perfect hardcore. Like they seem
Perfect
they have
Storm
a
and all that.
perfect storm.
Mhm.
They have that, and I envy that, man, because I feel like Mongo and Rich, those early days, that was huge for me. What you got going on here, like, but not everybody has that. Like we have people back in my town, but everybody's got their own coach.
Right.
They're at their headphones on. They got their little thing.
Yeah.
They got their app on their phone, or
Yeah, but most of those people could probably just get way stronger being around strong people. Like
and not just being around strong people, but having the will to like. I've talked about this before with JT. About in the early days how we did not have access to everything, but it was honest. It was kind of a blessing. Like I remember, Scott Weech in our gym. He at the time he's a heavyweight pro, and he makes a log that's 202 pounds unloaded, and I'm like, I don't even think I could press 202 pounds back then. I was like,
and it was 13 inches.
13 huge
Giant.
log,
Yeah.
just this monster log. We still have it, and I'm like, dude, what am I supposed? He goes, Jay, get stronger and press it.
this is the way it is.
Yeah.
And you got stronger and press it. I mean, the first stone we had was 222 pounds.
Yeah.
That's what you learn with. And there's something to be said about that, because it mentally it makes you work harder to do it instead of being like, oh, well, I'll just drop down. You know what I
And
mean?
stay in
It's-
that comfort zone.
It's kind of taking that grit out of it. You know what I mean?
No, that's
But-
like Alan's log. That big dog strong's 235 empty.
I love that thing, dude.
So do I. I didn't at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't at the time, but it's what it just gets you stronger. You kind of
and
have that.
those big dog, all those implements, we both learned on. A big dog H stone was 300 pounds unloaded. That's what I learned on. It's what you learned on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nowadays you can get a 100-pounder. And
Oh yeah, tighten on.
And to me, it's going to back you up some, really. If you can be smart about it and do it correctly. But back then, I trained with all heavyweights too, for the most part. It'd be
Yeah.
Allen, Chad Robinson.
Yep.
Back then, Adam Shearer was still training with us too before he went to WWE.
Yep, well, Adam
He's
Shearer.
420 pounds.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
200 pounds, like.
It's trial by fire.
But it helped me to be around these guys. It just pushed me further and further. And the old crews where we talk about, when Mike and those guys would drive up from Miami every week. You're talking 4.5 hour to 5 hour drives every week.
Yep.
And now you get guys that are like, there's a better gym for me, but it's 30 minutes away. And I'm
Yeah.
like, bro,
That's nothing.
We're not the same person.
No.
If that's a deal breaker for you,
Yeah.
because I used to drive to Allen's every 3 times a week. That was an hour each way.
Yep.
And I thought nothing about it. I just knew that that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And some of that's lost. You know what I mean? Like you said, the crews aren't as big because there's so many of them. To me, it's like a church now. They're on every corner.
Yeah.
Somebody gets pissed off, they start their own group, and it's like, man, it's real. To me, it just seemed different back then. I know it makes me sound like
Yeah, it's
old
hard.
and
Because
shit,
it
but-
does. It does make you sound like that, but it's still true. Like it can be both. You know what I'm saying? So it's a tricky thing. I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to go back just because the online presence and all things like that. But
some things have evolved,
Yeah.
and I get it, you know what I mean. But some things I wish had never evolved as far as they did. As far as like, the crews, just something's different. About it.
Competitiveness. I think, being competitive. Like, I like being competitive. I want to be around people. I want to beat people. Not in a bad way, but if it's strong, man, it's just a hobby anyways. There's nothing wrong with being competitive and talking a little trash here and there, but when you're around people, it's just a different thing.
Well, and I'll tell you, one way I knew that it had changed is, going to whether it's Nationals or the Arnold.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was a state thing. So
Yeah.
even if you hadn't seen guys all year, we would kind of all set up
Yeah.
in the same corners, and now it's not like that.
I saw. No, we had back of our names on our shirt at Nationals just now, right? So we're at Nationals, and they have the streaming thing and where you're from, and so you get to see. There's a guy from Florida.
Don't even know.
I don't know who to do it, but
Yeah.
but she's like, that guy right there is from Florida. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, what's up? You're from Florida? He's like, yeah, I'm from Florida.
Don't even know these people.
Didn't know who I was, which I don't care. I'm like, where you compete? He's like, oh, I do mostly USS shows. He's like, I'm like, oh, how'd you call me? Oh, I went to Mississippi Strongest. Nice guy, got dead last. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, if he would reach out and be a part of
Absolutely.
something, and just and he's got a coach and he does his USS shows, was fine. But I'm like, he could probably be really good, but
Yeah.
he just doesn't know or doesn't look outside of his
Much
own
better,
little
yeah.
world. And
Well,
it's
like
really,
you said, I feel like even back then, now that I think about it, I don't think any of us had coaches.
there wasn't.
I really don't think any, and I've never been coached
There wasn't
by
even
anyone.
there wasn't even an option to have online coaching, really. Like I said, when I did the Clydesdale games, like there was a website called Lift Big Eat Big.
Oh,
And
yeah, I
and
remember
I remember
that.
reaching out to him, and he gave me a carbon copy, like I had
Template,
we had a
yeah.
max squat coming up with Brevard Strongest Man. This dude scheduled like lunges for me, no squats for like a month. I'm like, oh, he's giving me cookie cutter. I didn't know. He was out. I got Mike Westerling. That was like 2013, and he was
Been in
and he had Iron Mill. There was an Iron Mill with Louis Costa or something like that. There was
Yeah.
a website where they had articles, and I found him. And beyond that, I didn't know of anybody. I mean, there's people I guess that could help you, but because like Rich, he just kind of went in there and did whatever. We were
Yeah.
following 5-3-1 one week,
yeah.
and we were doing conjugate the next week. And it was good. But at that time, it didn't matter for me because I just needed to lift heavy, and I got stronger for a
Right.
long time. And then I got to a point where I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. And that's kind of when I went on my own, because I didn't have a crew. That's when Rich
Right.
dipped and Mongo's Mongo, and he could do anything, and he didn't want to train that often anyways. So that's when I kind of had to be like, all right, how do I get my online coach? Like,
Well, I just know,
Figure
like,
out what I'm doing.
back then, like, everybody just had the same goal. We're all going to nationals.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to do.
yep.
So,
There's a whole cohesiveness to that
right,
word.
and everybody's training just kind of followed each other. Like, we just pushed each other
Yeah.
as much as we could, and you could kind of fix somebody's form here and there. You had a bunch of eyes on you.
Oh, for sure.
Even when Dimitar started coming in,
Yeah.
the guy, he's technical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a huge plus to train with guys like that.
Oh, for sure.
You're not going to do the same weight as
Well,
Dimitar, but
yeah.
he can still help you.
And there's something too, like, nowadays you go into a gym and a bunch of guys are doing deadlifts or log, and well, my program says I got to do farmers today. Like
Yes.
back in the
I
day,
hate
it'd be
that,
like,
dude.
back in the day, like, no, you know what? No, everybody's doing log. I'm doing
Yeah.
log. I did log 3 days
Yeah.
ago. I don't care. I'm doing
Yeah.
log because I'm
Fall
trying
in.
to.
Yeah, fall in, dude.
Yeah.
But now they spent $300 this month on their programming. Well,
Right.
okay, yeah, you better do your program. You got to get your video, and they got tripods set up, and
It was just a lot more raw, I guess.
Don't
back
let your
then.
Yeah.
coach be mad.
yeah, so it's weird because you don't want to be that old guy complaining about how the bed used to be, but at the same
Right.
time, facts are facts, and you want to keep up with the new things and adapt to people, especially the coaching world and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, and the online world. When you got a gym, and you got to market yourself. It's hard to find that balance. I look at Alan's gym, I look at you, I look at Battle Axe, I see what's coming up in Florida, and I'm glad I'm not in it sometimes. Like it's a hard
Oh, yeah.
thing to kind of figure out.
Yeah, and it does seem like, nowadays that some of this online presence and these, some of these crews that are not really together all the time, it does seem like there could be a lot of drama involved in that, I mean,
Yeah.
it's human nature.
Yeah, there's going to be
The
drama.
more people you get,
Yeah.
but
For sure. There's always going to be those things. But see, I don't know. And Florida's interesting. I can't compare it to other sports because I live in Florida, but seeing USS and how popular it's gotten, and then Strongman Corp's not seem as popular, and then there's all these other options. There's non-sanctioned options now. There's these, one-offs, and people don't care about corporations now, which is good in some sense that you're not locked into some certain thing.
Yeah.
And so it's weird. I don't really know what to make all of it sometimes, but I figure I'm just going to keep on competing as long as I want to compete. I'm not going to do Masters for a while. I'm 43, but I want to hold off. I kind of like the idea of doing no novice, no Masters, my whole deal.
yeah.
We'll see.
I used to think that way too.
I get it.
Well-
But I want to enjoy it and have fun, and I want to be competitive. And I know at some point, like I just went to nationals, I didn't do too great. I don't think that was an age thing or anything like that. I think it was just my preparation. But Yeah, so I'm not against it fully. I like the fact I never did novice because I saw later on that kind of turned into a complete shit show, sandbagging show.
Yeah, I never did.
So
novice
I feel prideful, like pride about that. But we'll see about the Masters thing, because again,
and the Masters definitely become a lot more competitive compared to what 20 years ago.
Yeah,
no one was really.
Yeah.
And if there was, it was a couple guys that were really good, and then it would be a huge gap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And now you got guys where the top 5 could probably still do okay at Open Nationals.
Well, there's some good guys, yeah.
I'm not going to say we're going to go in there and win, but you're going to give people some problems.
Can be competitive, yeah.
Yeah, because the only time I do Masters is at Nationals.
Well, and do that, experience that, and to win that's a cool thing to do. I'm not totally against it. I don't know. I think I'm just prideful at this moment still, and I want to hang with the 105s, even though it's getting ridiculous what they're doing and things like that. So, but again, at the end of the day, it's just about your journey and what you can do. And at the end of the day, like, I got to experience this and that. And I got my ass kicked here. I won this one. Well, yeah, I'm gonna be okay with that.
We're kind of getting to that point. I know I am, to where I don't want to say, I want to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the way I look at it, like if some 29-year-old beats me, well, bitch, you should beat me. I'm 48 years old.
Yeah.
So
I get that. Yeah.
if I'm the mark for you, then you're probably missing the boat somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Well, and then and that's the other thing is, like, I like doing the national stuff. I want to try maybe USNS Nationals again. I did the Clash on the Coast thing, which was a pretty big deal.
Right.
I want to still keep doing national shows, but doing local shows is fun too. Florida Strongest is never easy.
Heavy
it's never easy. Miami's always pretty fun.
Right.
There was a guy last year that was tough. You never know, but it's hard. Because there's not a lot of really good guys in the state anymore. Really, it feels like. I don't feel like besides Andrew Clayton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's not a 231 that can beat me. I don't think. I mean, maybe I wish. So it's like I want that. I want that thing, but there's not. Yeah. There might be in the next few years. Like there's guys. We talked about a couple guys, but
I see some guys coming up for sure, which is good. It's promising.
Oh, it should be. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not.
It ebbs and flows. I know how it works, but
it's always a cycle.
Yeah. So there's always doing local shows, and USS got a show every weekend if you really want to go feel good about yourself. So there's always those options.
There's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's just something else that's kind of evolved along with, comps and the way they're put on, and it's a whole different topic, but.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I have my opinions about it, but then sometimes I'm like, why my opinion don't really matter. I'm not in the sport. I'm not losing money from it. I'm not losing clients from it. I'm not in that world. But I guess there's like a general sense of like that old school in me that's like, yo, that show is way too light. Well, like you're not, because I used to be scared going into shows. Like, I knew like I was gonna zero something. Like there was that fear of like, oh crap, like I got 12 weeks. My friends and family gonna be there. I better get my shit right. Not like. All right, I already got the comp weight, but now it's for that happens now. But like early on, I don't recall many shows.
No.
Whether it be Donnie's show, which he wasn't even Strongman Corp. Donnie's shows, which became way lighter later on. His shows were still tough, and then obviously Strongman Corp shows were heavy. But USS shows, they seem to start getting way lighter, and I understand why they're doing it from a business perspective, and I see who signs up for these shows. But as somebody who's been in the sport a long time, who's at a certain strength level. It's hard sometimes to kind of go, oh man, because I did a show not too long ago and it was light, and I got the show and I'm like, all right, and then it ended up being 40 pounds even less. The logs were 40 pounds less than they were listed. They were already listed light. Wow. And for me, who's trying to win, I'm like, okay, it's like, I don't feel real good about it. Like, okay, I did nothing. And then second of all, you got guys that aren't very strong, but might be fast or whatever. And then it's not really the strongest. It was just maybe the most conditioned because the sandbag was 50 pounds less than it was supposed to be. So he can't pick up the 3, but he can. That's like me back in the day with the Houston. So,
well, I always say to this day, like, especially the guys that are capable of heavier shows, like, listen, it's easier to get beat at a lighter show.
Yeah, those local shows are funky, dude.
Because it could be a half second. This guy's a half second quicker than you, but you would kill him statically. Yeah. But that comp is not a big static show. It's way easier to lose that way.
Well, then and I've done this before. I've seen a local show and go, oh, that looks fun. The weights are due. I can just jump in there and do it. Well, you got some guy who's been training for this show for the past 6 months. This is his Arnold. This is his Super Bowl. Yeah. I've been to that show. I went to Tampa Bay one year.
My man's peaking for this.
A guy named Joe who beat me on the K-toss. I didn't throw Ks going in. I just showed up and I did really pretty good. But then he'd been training for a long, so he deserved to win. But it wasn't about strength so much. It was about he'd practice the events and his conditioning.
He's sharp on it.
you win at the end of the day. But yeah, so the way things are going, I don't know what's going to happen with Florida and the Florida shows, and there's just a lot of people doing a lot of shows, and I don't know if that's good or bad. It seems like it's not good because it just seems weird when you look at an Iron Podium sheet. It's got 9 people signed up. I'm like,
literally
9 people. Like, it's not even a good experience for the people that go to something like that because you're not really learning from people.
Right.
You might meet a few. It's probably the same 9 people at the last one last month. So
well, I look at it from many different angles as far as like being a sponsor with our clothing line.
That's true.
Having athletes in it, whatever the case may be. As a former promoter, I'd like to get back into promoting, but honestly, I don't know when I'd put my comp.
I wouldn't.
Where the hell would I put my comp?
It's hard. It's saturated.
I mean, there has to be, I would say 35 to 40 comps in Florida now.
And I'm really be like 4 a year, 5, 4, 6. Yeah, it's crazy.
And not saying that was correct either.
No.
But it just seems like we went from not evolving for many years to way too much evolving.
And I think it'll fix itself.
I think so too.
I think it all corrects
like
itself.
you said, if a comp's got 15 people in it, the promoters, it's
over time, you do 15, you do 15, you do 12, you do 30, you do 12.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go, dude. I'm not making no much money. My sponsor's like, it'll correct itself.
Well, and as a competitor, I don't want to show up and compete against myself. I'll just stay at home.
2 people in your category,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that feels good. I think some people that mentality might go, ooh, but my mentality's like, I want like 9 dudes in my thing.
I'm not a trophy hunter like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to get those. You can do
It's
those.
watered down. It's
Yeah.
completely watered down.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten strange.
It has.
So I figure like most of those times when I get frustrated or I see things online where I'm like, that guy is a coach now, like that guy.
After one comp.
Those are the weights of that show. I'm like, you know what? Instead of getting frustrated, I'm just gonna do whatever. I'm just gonna do me and find shows, enjoy my little experience and what I want to do, and pick the shows I want to do and do them why, or do them because I want. That's all you can really do.
Well, what's your plans moving forward now?
I don't really know. I did nationals again. I've always that pro card still sticks in my craw a little bit, just from just to have it. Like this full circle thing. Like it's not gonna make or break my life. It don't make me nothing. I'm not gonna use it to go change my Instagram handle to pro read like they all do. Like I'm not.
It's just a goal.
If you look at my bio, I don't care about that. But yeah, having that thing of like I did something, I was so close, I stuck with it. I have daughters, I have a son with Liam, so it's like I want to be able to tell people like, yo, don't give up, and not just tell them that, be like, yo, your dad struggled, like he struggled, but I kept with it. So there's a part of me that still wants that. I want to just do cool shit. Really, I just want to do cool shit, whether it be a USS show or some one-off weird thing or whatever. I just want to like almost fill my photo book of like just cool shit. What I'm saying?
I think you guys are like us, like. Unfortunately for us, like all of our quote-unquote vacations are comps, which
Pretty much.
for me it's kind of rough because I'm usually cutting 20 pounds, which is not fun, not healthy.
Yeah.
But it does make for good stories, and you get to go see the towns and stuff. The travel is really fun.
That's what we've really made it. Me and Kenzie and I the past few years. It's like it's funny because we were in Greenville like 2 weeks ago, and we rented a little minivan. We drove up to Greenville, and the comp was 10-1, so we're out of there at 1 o'clock. And so
just go explore.
We lit it up, and we did that we've done that in Raleigh, we did that in Alabama and Iowa, and we just see the entire. And so we're walking, and I'm like, girl, I don't know if it says anything, but like I guarantee not other strongman competitors saw this much at Greenville because we did it all. Like we went out putt-putting and golf-carting, and we went down to we did everything, hiking, and for me it's like, am I going to be recovered the next day? Well, I was like in 12th anyway, so and plus I don't have to cut that much weight anymore, so it's never a big deal. It's so making experiences like that is really fun, but now I'm looking forward to like having her compete more and putting my energy towards her, and then we got kids and they've competed, so they like doing stuff like that.
Right.
Obviously,
Love
so that's fun. Like John's got one coming in November. We're getting the kids ready for a little bit, and so doing stuff like that, and just. I'm going to keep competing and still beating people. I just I like winning.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, that definitely keeps the old fires burning.
I just got to find that goal and find that person or whoever it is or that thing. And I got to be hungry. And as I've gotten older, that's the one thing that's gone away or kind of ebbed and flow is that hunger. When you have a career outside of sports, when you got kids, to be honest with you, like, it's going to sound harsh, but like when I see people like online bitching about how they got their training in, like if you ain't got kids or if you ain't, you know what I'm saying, like shut the fuck up. Like shut I ain't nobody trying to hear that. Like you got kids and you got a career, like
really juggling.
Some people got a job.
We both know that.
Yeah, for sure.
Big time.
Well, and some people don't, and they want to bitch about I'm like training. Yeah, try having kids. Try having like some people have a job. I have a business, and if you have a business, it ain't a job. A job is cool. a business is a lot.
You're not
you
a
know?
9 to 5.
A business is 24/7.
24/7.
Holidays, whatever, you know.
And depending on what that business is and the physicality of that business or all the things that go around that business, it's not, there's some days where it's just like, the return on this strongman today is not like, I got other things that, so it
Not
gets
very lucrative.
Yeah, so the hunger, and that makes the hunger kind of dissipate sometimes because it's like, and then for me, I'm so competitive, like business is my competition, like
Right.
growing my business and doing the
Right.
next cool thing and trying this, and that's kind of my competitive outlet sometimes. So strongman kind of, but I feel like, it didn't have to be everything. When I was 30 years old and I wanted to be, king of the world, like it was everything, but it doesn't have to be. So finding that balance is tricky, but I'm getting better at it.
I know you felt this too, because I think we're a little bit of the same in some of this shit. Is dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with injury for about the last 6 months, and knowing that there's comps that I'm not going to make this year, and in my mind I'm like, but in the reality, no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
If I don't show up,
No.
they're not going to
That
ask
fear of
where I
missing
am.
out thing, that fear of missing out or fear of missed out. Even with me, I've won Florida Strongman 3 times.
Right.
I feel very proud about that because it's
Sure.
been hard and there's been really good guys.
Yeah,
And
those are not a given.
Alan's shows are very heavy, and I went from getting my ass handed to me to getting second place to Nate Pastrana, getting second place to Mike DeLaPava, to now winning, and now to the point where I'm not going to get beat at that show. I don't care who you are. I promise, if I'm hungry, you're not beating me at 231. But yeah, it's not always easy. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's just as you go and you like you said, you're having to juggle different things, and maybe you're not going to make this comp because of this.
But no one does
schedule.
care. But no one cares
No
if you're
one
not.
cares.
Yeah, and like if I don't show up, no one cares, and that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
They'd
Like,
probably be happy.
that's always nice too.
Well, it's just one of the, it's
That's
just
why
one of the-
I love Rich. I love Rich because he's the most humble dude,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, yeah, I'm just glad you're not. He says stuff that he's so humble all the time. And I'm
Country
like,
Rich?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's strong, dude. He's so strong. Like but
Oh,
he's
he's
super
something
humble.
else, yeah.
he's
He's-
super humble. He's always making comments like that when I get
well,
embarrassed about it.
And
but-
what I love about Rich is he's very humble, and he's one of these guys that I think that truly doesn't understand. He's a very strong guy.
yeah,
He's just an all shucks kind of guy.
He
Yeah,
just doesn't understand. Like, bro, you have a massively world class grip, and
Yeah.
he's like, and he'll talk shit to us in here, which
Yeah.
is funny, because that's his thing. He knows grip.
yeah.
Either
That's
him
it.
and Weeches, there's
Yeah.
nobody gonna touch him. But yeah, it's just funny to see how shit goes along.
But those are the people I like in the sport. The people that are humble, but still are savage killers, but they aren't
Right.
just telling everybody all the time. So, but that's just our general world and everybody. Like if you look outside of strength sports, everybody's advertising themselves anyways in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. So of course that's just the way it's going to be with strongman and stuff. And
Yeah.
I think you just got to adapt to it or just get used to it or whatever. But
I think I'm getting to the point where I used to take a lot of it personally.
Yeah.
Where I truly hated people
Yeah.
because of their online presence.
Yes,
I'm like,
yeah.
motherfucker, you know what I mean?
but then you meet them in real life, they're not like that. You're
I
like, oh, it's like
It's bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Like,
just
we-
smoke and mirrors.
We meet
Window
this
dressing.
girl. This girl, I won't say her name, but she's a big influencer, strong woman, girl online, very popular.
Is it John?
No,
Oh, no. Okay.
no. But this girl,
there you go.
if you saw her online presence, she is like, a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But in real life,
It's an act.
yeah, she's super cool. We've seen her in a couple different big shows. Kenzie talks to her. She's like, you wouldn't even think. But then when it's
Really?
game time, it's stealthy sticks and it's
Oh, yeah.
it's
Wow.
following her man around too during all
and,
that.
And I've had to kind of draw back. And honestly, with bringing the podcast back, I've told John and JT, like, I want to interview everyone, even
Yeah.
people that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
And I
think it'd be better.
I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's an open channel, and I'll probably walk away not having problems with people.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because everybody does. We're all guilty of it, where we kind of draw our own conclusion. Like, this guy's an asshole. I may have never met this guy.
Oh, for
Or
sure.
Same, like we're talking about. I'm sure people that hate me and they don't know me, but
I can't-
that's normal,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's been lots of times where I've had that same person, made a person online, saw their little Instagram thing, like, oh god, and then in real life they're super humble, super cool.
yeah,
so-
you kind of got to
Yeah.
sift through it, and
Yeah.
that's what I'm kind of hoping for us in interviewing people. I love interviewing people, hearing people's
Yeah.
stories. Like, you have an interesting story.
Yeah.
Not everybody played semi-pro basketball. But
Yeah,
the
everybody's
Harlem
got-
Globetrotters, like, what?
Everybody's got their thing, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I think it'll kind of open up some of the, even if it's just for Florida, it'll kind of open up some avenues, because there's a lot of people that disagree with what's going on in Florida right now, as far as we've talked about it. The
Number of
flooding,
comps,
the
yeah.
flooding of comps, the lower level stuff where it's very low,
Yeah.
and
Well, let me ask you. I just want to curious.
Mm-hmm.
Some people argue there shouldn't be an entry point in the strongman, like what you can and can't do. Like I know for me, there was an entry point. Like my first show, I didn't do very well. I got third place,
Sure.
and I zeroed lots of things. And but nowadays, maybe I'm wrong because it doesn't seem like that same entry point is there. Like you can jump in and do a novice especially, and you're going to do fine. Like you're going to get reps, and you're not going to zero anything. I don't know what the answer to that is. I assume I know your answer on that, but like, why do you think that is?
I think it's money.
Yeah.
You know, I think money has switched a lot of the way they look at the sport now. When I got into strongman around 07-ish, somewhere in there, late 07, early 08. And novice back then, there was no weight divisions, and you could only do novice one time, no matter what.
I remember that now.
So
no
once
weight
you did
divisions.
that, your ass had to go.
Yeah, no weight divisions. I was like, I'm going to go against Mongo? I'm not going against Mongo.
The first comp I ever went to, I remember it was Southwest. God, what was that guy's name? He was down south. He was a 231er. Him and
his brother?
He was a fireman. He used to go at it with. Him and Elliot used to go at it for a 231 pro car. He was legit. Dave something.
Okay. No, I don't know.
God damn it. I can't remember his name, but good guy, nice guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was his comp, though, and I remember I was like, I'm not going to do novice. And I remember the guy showed up at novice. This dude was like 350 pounds. He was a former, like, Miami football player, like college.
Yeah.
This dude was a monster.
Demolished everybody.
Yeah, and it was like I remember it was like a 405 deadlift for reps there. And this guy blasted for like 20 reps.
Sure.
And I'm like, thank God I didn't do that.
Yeah, right. There was no weight classes
what was the
early
point?
on.
Yeah,
And
and like
now
I said,
there is, though, I believe, right?
There's weight classes, and you don't have to move up now until you place.
Win a show.
Till you place. I think it's if you finish top 3 now.
That's wild.
So, I mean, I think the right thing has to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do I think guys should do novice 10 times? And there are people that do that.
Yeah.
Do I totally agree that there's a novice in nationals now? Not really. I mean, it's a huge money draw.
Yeah.
But, you know, at USS, you could be the America's strongest novice.
I don't get that.
I don't really understand
I really
it.
don't get that.
Money. It's got to be money.
Oh,
It is.
100%.
There's only one
Back
answer.
on.
Yeah.
It's
The last one we went to in Texas, it was over 600 competitors.
Yeah.
And that's done in one day.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
insane.
no, they pack them in.
And you're looking at the amount of money that's being made. It's like, well, I can understand that aspect of it. But as far as locally, yeah, I wish people, and this is just my thinking, and maybe it's old school, but I was like, I think if you get into this, what is the end goal? Like it should be, to me, do well at states. You know, do well, you know, like Alan, kind of adopted to where there is no novice at states.
Yeah.
And that hurt him money-wise.
Oh, for sure.
Huge. I mean, he's probably losing 50, 60 people. Even.
Oh, absolutely.
So you got to respect that in a way because he's not putting money first when it comes. If he was, he would have huge novice shows.
That's true.
So I respect that as well. But is it good for business? No, it's not.
No.
You know, I mean, it's harder for these comps to survive that way. But on the other end, you have comps that are getting done every single week, 9, 10 people in them. Like, bro, that's not good. To me, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the competitor.
Yeah.
To show up and have one person in there. If I'm a promoter, it's damn sure not good for me that I'm putting money out to put these comps in and I'm losing my ass on it.
Yeah.
You can't even pay for trophies that way. And I can tell you because as you
Put them on, yeah.
we promoted. You know, time you buy shirts, if you're giving shirts out to everybody and then you got trophies, nice trophies, not some bullshit quarter medal, which we never did. We always had very nice trophies, which Alan does as well. Alan spends a lot of money.
Oh, my favorite trophy is the damn belt. He got,
dude.
I think he got a ring.
Awesome, yeah.
I got a Viking helmet. Yeah.
The Spartan helmet.
Yeah, I mean, he did the Nacho Libre joint
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
but the ring and the thing, like, dude, at the time when I won that belt, that meant a lot to me, dude. I don't know why. Maybe
I know.
corny, but like I had that to this
No.
day. I'm like, that meant a lot. It says Florida's strongest man. It's like legit.
There's something to be said about that, and
Yeah.
and I want people to understand. Like people should know, like a guy that's still doing that, or guys that are still doing that. That's a lot of money out of pocket that they're not seeing. You know what I mean? So it's important when people show up to support the promoter. You know, sign up for these good shows.
Yeah.
And as a sponsor, I can tell you, like it's important, you know, to try to buy clothes from these people or whatever they're selling that are putting money into the sport.
support
which
them.
it kind of goes, you know, unsaid anymore to where people are like, whatever. It's like, bro, these people, they're trying to help the sport along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is hard. But I think the truth's going to come out somewhere in the middle. You know what I mean? We're going to see it where a lot of these comps are not going to make it because who wants to go to a comp with 10 people?
Who wants to put one on? I don't know why you'd want to put that one.
It makes no sense.
I mean, I can think of one guy specifically. I won't say his name, but he's doing a lot of shows right now, and every time I've seen it, they're not a lot of people. So I don't know. At some point,
What's the point?
Yeah, but hey, do what you want to do. I don't care. It's your deal. But
well, that's the other thing too. Is like I'd never seen back in the day like one promoter be able to do multiple shows. Now you have guys putting on 5 shows in the state of Florida in 1 year.
Yeah, it's like a business model now. They kind of just,
Yeah.
and they probably cycle their athletes through. I don't know for sure, but they probably use it. Yeah, and I get it. It's smart, but we'll see what happens. I
Yeah.
think it's all going to even itself out. But
I think so too. I think it's going to take time,
Yeah.
but it will kind of even, like you said, it'll kind of play itself out.
But like what you said, to like find out why you're doing this. Like I know for me, it was the pro card. It was like just to see how strong I could get. It
Right.
was to win the biggest, heaviest shows. I think a lot of people nowadays, it's just to do it, or
Right.
it's like, hey, I got content from my Instagram now. I did this
True.
thing. It's like this little, their little storybook.
Or you're I am a strongman competitor. But what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
What does that mean? I mean, as far as
You get a title, it fits an image, you get to buy the service, everything, and just be on your way,
Right.
your starter kit, and you have
Yeah.
this thing, and this is now it's in your bio, and this is what your thing. And I understand that people need that, and I get it, but
well, and we've talked about this, and I've talked about it in the past, but like, there's a lot of people that are putting their whole identity into this.
Yeah.
That's who they are.
oh, I did that for a long time. I did that with basketball.
We probably all
Basketball
have.
was, I have a basketball tattoo on my leg. Basketball was my image because they gave me all I had, and I was known for this thing, and so coming out of basketball, I was like, that's my thing. Like I was
Yeah,
famous for it.
who are you now?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I had to kind of start over. But then even with strongman, the times where I'm like, man, I don't know. I'll be honest. I've been like, yeah, but I like being jacked, dude. Like you can still be jacked and you're strongman. Yeah, but I want to be strong. Like that's who I
Right.
am. I'm strong. I'm like known for this. I'm Coach Reed. I'm this strong. So it's we had this moment of like, yo, who I'm beyond this thing. And I've had to come to that term with me the past few years here and there and going, yo, this doesn't define who you are because you've accomplished things and people look at you a certain way. So
Well, I've wanted to talk about the different people, like, and it's not like you have to think of an exit route, but it's
Yeah.
almost like you do. And so I've trained. I can put it to you like in this perspective. Like I've trained guys, jiu-jitsu guys.
Yeah.
Okay, for strength and conditioning, some high-level guys, and they chase this shit kind of like us. A typical black belt's probably 10 years plus.
yeah,
And then I've seen guys get their black belt and they fucking quit.
Yeah.
Because once they had no thinking, well, what happens when
Beyond
I get
that.
ordered? You've seen a lot of guys get their pro card.
I
and
feel
it's,
that
and
way.
it's a dissonance.
I feel that way. There's
Yeah.
part of me, the sick part of me, that likes not having it yet. I'm serious. Like
Still
there's-
chasing it.
because I'm still the journey
Yeah.
is the journey.
Dude.
The chase is the journey
Yeah.
versus. Okay, I got it. I got to ask myself, like, what am I going to do then now?
Let me ask you this, because so for years, I chased, I'm going to go to nationals,
Yeah.
and I went to nationals for years, and then 2014 is the first year that I'd made top 4. That got me into the Arnold.
Yeah.
And after that, you tell me, when I tell you it fucked me up, because once I made it as high as I could, because at the time there was no clash, there was no other avenues for me. This was the Super Bowl of my sport. I just made it.
Yep.
And when I tell you it messed me up for like a year, because I was like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah,
it
motivation.
literally screwed me up. Like
Yeah.
I was very unmotivated until I could finally recover enough.
Well, what do you think brought you back? What was that next goal, or what was that next thing?
Just got hungry again.
Yeah.
Probably started hating people again.
Yeah, to me, that's what it became to me. It's like I wanted to beat
Yeah.
specific people, or I wanted
Yeah.
to have the title of Florida's Strongest Man, or I wanted to win a certain
Right.
show, or this guy was talking shit, so I'm going to let him know what time it is.
Right.
It became that, but
Nice.
even that's shallow and hollow at the end of the day, but
Right. But it keeps you going.
it keeps you going,
Yeah.
yeah.
It threw gas back on the fire. And then, I figured like, well, I'd like to make it to the Arnold again.
Yeah.
And it was kind of depressing to me at the time because they just started putting 200s in the Arnold
Yeah.
like the last 2 years. So it was a dissonance for me. If you made it as a 200, you're getting your ass whipped. And
Yeah.
there's very few 200s that ever do good
Yeah.
at the Arnold because I was go up against 231s.
Yep.
And, some of those guys are cutting from 260,
Oh,
270.
it's
I
rough.
think I was cutting one of the last times. This was years ago, and I was cutting weight, and Dave
Yeah.
Deal or whatever,
Yeah.
however you say. He's cutting next to me, and that dude was like 265, cutting to 231, and I'm like,
Yep.
I got to compete against this, and I didn't have to cut weight for the Arnold, so that was
Yeah,
great.
that's
I'd go
why
in
I
there
did that.
fat as hell, whatever,
Yeah.
but I'm like, these dudes are huge, man.
No, I'm very curious about that with people that have been in the sport a long time, because some people just come in and get out.
Sure.
Okay, that's going to happen. But there's people that stay in for a decade.
Lifers, we're lifers, dude.
Yeah, it's like what keeps you going, or why are you still doing it, and what's the psych? Some people probably don't even ask themselves that question. They're just doing that's what they've always done. But
Right.
even with basketball, like I didn't want to do that forever, and even with the strongman, I'm like, if I put this next 5 years into something else? Because I remember going, damn, if I would have started at 25 and not 30,
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
be legit.
I started at 32, man.
Yeah, I'm like, so then I think about the next thing. I'm like, but then it's like finding that thing, but strength. There's something about being strong and lifting. There's
Yes.
nothing quite like it.
No, for sure. And, it's a big mental part for me.
Yeah.
It's like
Really,
I don't get into the whole mental health thing like
Yeah.
it's very popular to talk about, but it does keep me from probably murdering people.
For sure. No, it's
on
an
a
outlet. It's an
daily
outlet.
basis. Yeah,
It's an outlet.
I feel way better training,
Yeah.
and I
Feel
I
bad about
use it.
yourself. It's a it's a lot. Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, at some point, it's going to come to an end. You know what I mean? It's
To that point, which I was bringing up, yeah, because what you've said to me, you said to me a long time ago. You said it recently. When you forget about strongman forgets about you.
That's right.
That's some hard fucking truth, because I think in the back of our brain, when you've made it to a certain high level, or you think you've done a little something, you have this thing of like, people think they
No.
don't give a shit. But once you come to terms with that, there's freedom in
It's
that.
okay.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
freedom in that.
Yeah,
Tremendous. But getting
don't-
to that point,
I don't remember what I coined. I said, when you're done with strongman's
strongman's done with you. Yeah.
And it's the truth, because you could even if you went out on top, like, man, Reed got his pro card, he won nationals.
Yeah.
The next year, it's who's there right now.
And
they're not going to be like, man, what happened to Reed?
Well,
They're
they
gonna be
might
glad
they
you're
might
back.
be in a passing conversation for 2 seconds. So that's why you
Yeah.
got to do you at the end of the day.
Right.
And I've fallen in that trap of proving people wrong and being this person. I'm a top one. And you
No one
gotta,
cares.
yeah, they don't. And so that's a hard truth to really.
And I think it's important, though, for people like us that's been in it a long time to be okay when it's time. Like, I'm getting fed a little bit of it right now for
Yeah.
myself, knowing that I'm going to miss some comps that I usually do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not
It's
going to
hard.
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it's still hard.
mentally for
at
me,
times.
I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
man, because in the back of your mind, like, could I still go out there and, I've been winning this shit for so long. And a lot of people don't realize either. Like, I didn't start winning Florida titles until I was 40 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, which I think is good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't talk about my age a lot. Like,
Yeah.
some of these guys make their whole
Yeah.
goddamn careers on.
Yeah.
I'm in my. Who cares?
I don't
Shut
want to
up.
milk that shit either. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't think people realize, like, but it says something for longevity in the sport.
Yeah.
Being able to. Me and John talk about this a lot. Like, how do you stay functional?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Let's put competing aside. Like, you want to be able to play with your kids, and I don't want to be one of these guys that's so decrepit from a sport that doesn't give a shit about me.
Yeah,
I
I've
wanna-
experienced that, getting off the floor and shit with
Yeah.
my daughter or something, like going, oh my god, just
Yeah.
little things,
we're-
knee tendonitis, pull a hamstring, like,
Put
and then
some- put
working. You got to work, you got to do on top, you got to live life, and so
These are hard miles, dude. These are very hard miles, and you have to be smart with that, and especially the older you get. But maybe I should have talked about it more, like, that I'm in my mid-40s.
Yeah.
And still.
No, I think people need to hear that. I don't think there's enough people talking about their age. Even me, I'm weary about my age because I'm always like, people thinking I'm going to think, oh, I guess there's part of me that thinks that, but I'm like, 43, I'm killing it. I don't mean to be an ass, but I'm killing it.
You're
43.
still doing just fine.
Yeah, I'm doing just fine before 40. I work with little kids all day. I think that keeps me young. I
Right.
got Kenzie.
Right.
Yeah, so I shouldn't duck my age. Like I think for where you're at, I think
Yeah.
because there's a lot of lifters out there that need to hear that see all these young bucks and are like, damn, I got to keep up. And yeah, I think there's something to that for
I
sure.
think that's something you should embrace as far as your age, and still being able to come in and be active and do what you do.
Yeah.
Regardless at what level you're at,
Yeah.
you're still able to do that. Where, if you look at the cross section of other men in your age group,
Yeah.
who else can do that?
Yeah.
Well,
no, but I always think differently. I'm always
Well,
like,
you know how when you really see it, it's like if you see people you went to school with, and you're like,
oh shit,
dude.
oh yeah.
Dude's 100 pounds overweight,
Yeah,
bro.
it gets real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have grandkids now that
Okay.
are into sports.
Yeah.
So I still want to be able to be active,
Yeah.
Right.
with
Yeah,
them.
or
and
throw the
not-
ball with
I
them
don't want
and-
to just sit there and watch. I want to be able to participate and be active with them. So, and just to throw my age out there, I'm 57.
Oh, wow.
So I'm still able to come in here and do something.
Yeah.
And actually, it's like the Dave Tate quote, live, learn, pass on.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at now. And
Yeah.
I'm at that point where I would rather come in and do what I can do. You see me working with the
Yeah.
kids. And help everybody. Hey, you need help. Many people come to me with questions.
It's really fun though with John. Like, we talk about it a lot. Like, we'll try to help people.
Yeah.
And some of these people you just can't help. And it's like,
Yeah.
bro, you need to learn. Like, we have been beat to hell. And I know you have too. I've learned a lot of stuff the hard way.
Yeah, you got to. And maybe they got to as well, though. That's the problem.
Especially, yeah. And you're right. You can't take that away
Yeah.
from people. But it's frustrating because you're like, bitch, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when me and Alan, we've talked about this before. Like, when we all used to train together at nationals, we did everything wrong.
Yeah.
Like that year at Tunica, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, we were doing. So it's 2-day comp.
Yeah.
So we would train every event 2 days in a row, Saturday, Sunday. We would dude. By the time we got there, we're like,
Busted.
dude,
Destroyed.
Yeah.
I'm so mentally screwed,
Yeah.
And I finished 8th, and I was happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, damn, dude, that was
Fried.
like one of the hardest things ever, just because we did everything wrong.
Yep.
so going into it, you're trying to keep people pulled back, and they're looking at you like you're trying to sabotage. I'm like, listen, dude.
Well, the rest thing before
I've done what you
contest,
did. Oh,
deloading, like nobody
huge.
wants to hear. I remember my first contest. I was in there like 2 days before doing the axle because I was scared.
Because you're going to get weak in 2 days.
I was nervous that I wasn't. Yeah, just the most ridiculous things.
Yeah.
Even now, I find myself like, oh shit, I didn't deadlift. I haven't deadlifted in 2 weeks.
my God.
Heavy. Like, oh, it's good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so learning your body, learning yourself, having
Right.
that mental fortitude of like, yo, it's gonna be there, game day of.
Right. Let your body come around
Yeah.
and be ready, which we, we talk about it a lot because one thing John and I did not do is take care of our mobility.
Yeah. Oh,
and,
yeah.
And he's paying for it. I'm paying for it. Like
Yep.
that's where I think my injury right now comes from is, extreme tight hips,
Over
because
years.
we're riding a super fine line in strongman of mobility, tightness, how tight are
Stability.
you? You have to have tightness,
Yeah.
but not too much.
No.
You have to have mobility, but not too much.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's hard to find that line, and at
you're
some
right.
point, I mean, you're probably paying for it too. I mean,
Yeah, it's tough. I'm not mobile.
Yeah.
I can stretch all day, every day, and it doesn't
Yeah.
seem to do anything.
Well, to your point of, what's next?
Yeah.
What's your next step? For me, it was Olympic lifting. It's
Okay.
something I hadn't done. I did powerlifting for the majority of my life.
Yeah.
Did a couple years of strongman. Took some time off, and I said, well, I haven't done that yet. Let me try that. Well, the lack of mobility from not, working on it the last
Horrendous.
40 years.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's quite important for the Olympic lifting. So
it's very painful to watch John. I'm in
is.
pain watching John.
Oh,
I'm
an
in
overhead,
pain.
an overhead squat. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
it's
it's bad.
Yeah, that's brutal.
but
Overhead squat
it's
brutal.
fun
Yeah.
to do. But there again, it's another challenge where I've had to take at least a year and work on my shoulder mobility.
Yeah, even to that effect, like John's done, did some higher end powerlifting back in the day, and when you're very humbled by mobility, when you're sitting there working with a PVC,
Yeah.
pipe,
Yeah.
and that's all you can do.
For
you
a
know what I mean?
while.
So it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, or
Right.
getting into rehab work like I am right now.
Yeah.
I deadlifted 330 the other day, and I was like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's having to reset your brain to be like, hey man, don't be stupid.
The small wins.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
take it as you go, and that's what's
Building.
going to get you back to where you want to be. But it's hard. You know what I mean? It's boring.
But the most
Very
frustrating part is we've been there, done that. You've been there, done that.
Yeah.
We're trying to talk to these people, and maybe not just here, maybe at a competition or whatever, and they're just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, sometimes it's frustrating.
It is.
But
Yeah.
like you said, it's a good point. Like, who am I to take your hard lesson learned from,
But I feel like when I was younger, whether it be you or Rich or Alan, like I was all ears. Like I wanted to absorb information, but maybe I didn't have access to all the information because now there's articles and there's clips.
Yes.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
paralysis by analysis. There's
but
too much information.
You were also an athlete too,
like
which
that.
I think makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Is if you got a guy that is coachable, because
Yeah.
some people are not coachable at all.
Yeah.
And I leave them alone. I'm like,
Yeah,
you know what?
you can't tell them shit. You know what I mean?
You do
So
what
it's
you got to
like,
do, and I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know who they are.
Oh,
But there's
yeah.
a few people that will listen,
Sure.
and
I think the biggest thing for me, like what you're talking about, was transitioning to things. I have no problem. I'm just so competitive that I gotta have something to compete for. Like the idea of just lifting for me, like I can't wrap my head around that. Like I
No,
can't
for sure.
to look jacked. Like okay, I
It's
look,
boring,
all
dude.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's like I have to have this thing coming up, dude. Like I hate that because I'm like I just want to train sometimes, but I need that sick pressure of like, oh, I'm nervous. I got this thing in 3 weeks. Like
Speaking of that, like because I've been kind of forced to think about
Yeah.
this, to where, and I'm pretty sure you're the same way. Like us coming up, you had these set comps, which is something that's evolved because it was
Yeah.
Florida Strongest Man. It's
Every
going to be
year.
in December.
Yep.
I've got nationals. That's usually right before that. If I qualify, I'm going to the Arnold in a
was
few
set in
weeks.
stone.
That is what I look for. But now a good thing that I'm kind of pivoting is like, if I am going to miss these comps at the end of the year, I could hit something in April.
Yep.
And my brain would never think that way because I'm like, no, these are my build times. So now I'm having to kind of shift that time schedule.
It's a good thing though.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be just like, shit, but I can do some other high-end stuff or stuff that's going to build me into getting back around
Yeah.
to these comps next
Because doing
year.
shows is fun. Like I see
Sure.
why there's every weekend and people do them every weekend because they're
Right.
fun. They feel good. You might do well. I get it.
Right.
But
I'm just having to change my mentality a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to go do a comp in Alabama that I've never been to.
Exactly.
And that's what we used to do, and there was fun in that, where nobody knows you.
Yep. Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And you just show up and try to mop the floor with
Yeah.
everybody. Or maybe you show up and get beat by some hillbilly that's
You
never
just
done shit.
Go home and nobody knows.
I've done that too. Yeah. Didn't you compete? No. No, bro.
Just didn't work out. It was a bad weekend.
That's another Scott Lamb from Florida. That's
Right.
not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, having to switch that mentality, is something that you're kind of forced to do it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, but that's something I'm glad we talked about. Like as far as because I've always wondered about that with people it being their whole identity, and it's at some point you almost need an exit from that. Like, what are you gonna like? I would love to get into shooting and all this stuff. You know, whatever it is, I'm gonna be a bad dude at it.
Yeah, because I'm all in. I'm an all in type of guy. So, but I want to find that thing, and I just haven't yet. And strongman's still there. It's still fun.
Yeah.
You have all this experience. I've invested 10 years on it. You know,
my son Aiden he's big time in jiu-jitsu now. He's like, Dad, you should get in this. And I'm like, I said, I'm gonna have a big problem with that when a 120-pound dude's wadding me up.
Yeah.
It's like going to be talk about a humbling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I don't mind being that student. Like, I've looked for things where I'm like, yo, I want to be the bottom again.
And a lot of guys do.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that, but I got to be passionate about it and have that hunger, which is not always easy.
And you got to be, you know, like on our rule board there, it says always do everything with a white belt mentality.
Yeah.
So, and that goes along with everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the problem is at some point a lot of us, and I don't think we're bad about it. Like, I'm always willing to learn from whoever I can.
Always. Yes.
And it could be somebody that really sucks at the sport.
Yeah.
Like John really, no, I'm just kidding.
But I can pass on a few things, you know.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, there's been guys that come in here that are new and be like, man, did you ever try this? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so being, you know, able and willing to learn is, you know.
And we have just the opposite, where some people think they know everything and they're not willing to,
Yes.
you know, open their eyes or their mind a little bit on anything.
And people like that, that's fine too, you know, the hell with it. But
Well, the thing is, you know, using this phrase, back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of different types of training. Especially in powerlifting, it was the old Western periodization, 3 sets of 5, 3 days a week, and that was it.
Yep.
That's all you did. So
West Side, Conjugate.
West Side, that was next. So fast forward to today, and you've got how many different types of training out there?
Endless.
Yeah. And most of them are pretty much copycats or whatever of each other, but still, you know, back in the day it was one way, and that was it. So now it's evolved so much, but people get this tunnel vision on one way of training, and they don't think there's anything else.
Well, they're afraid to try anything else. You know what I mean? I think, and we're all guilty of that. Like we're talking about, you know, like having a, you know, I didn't deadlift the week before. It's like, bro, the strength is done by
perspective. It comes with like age and experience and having perspective. But I was the same way. Like, I was the Franco kind of guy, and I thought that upper lower split was the only thing you should do, and you should be box squatting. Why would you? I
was,
you know, I was that guy.
We went through that.
Yeah, I went through that whole thing of like, this is my guy, and I found, and so now there's thousands of influencers that kind of attach yourself to and go, this guy has all the answers, and so it becomes, you know, listening to them, and they bark the loudest.
Well, we came from Conjugate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we trained with people that if you spoke out against Conjugate, they would want to fight you in the parking lot. Like it was like
a religion.
It was the Bible, dude.
Yeah.
And we learned very early on, like, that wasn't for me. Like, I wanted to do, because it wasn't enough accessory stuff for me. So it's like going back to where I don't want to just be strong. I want to look strong too.
Yeah.
I want to tote both.
Well, there was another aspect of that took away the accessories. We don't even want to get into that right now.
Story,
That's a whole different story.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, you know, everything's evolved, and if you're smart, you'll kind of, you got to give and take what works for you. You know what I mean? You have to be smart enough to abandon shit when it doesn't work too. Because I've seen, and we've all done that too, to where it's like, man, this is what I know. What's not working anymore?
Yeah.
So
I think I'm kind of there now with the guy that I've had coached for a long time, and I loved it. And then I tried other things, and it just was always like, oh, I question it right off the bat, and I didn't even see it through. And it got to the point where I'm like, this really isn't working, even though I'm comfortable in this, and I've done this
comfort zone, right?
Yeah, and I'm jacked because of it. I got a lot of accessory work, but maybe certain things aren't. Yeah, so I've struggled with that, like getting rid of stuff, and then nowadays with like finding a coach, you know, unless you know somebody locally, like your boy or something, or you don't know who's legit and who's not, and you know what they're talking about, and they, you know, they spout off this, but you don't really know.
You know, regardless, I just feel like the basics is what works.
I call it meat potatoes.
Meat, for sure.
Yeah, if you stay with meat and potatoes, you're some dessert in there a little bit, but
I don't need to see the latest TikTok craze and to know how my training's going that day.
Yeah.
Well, too many people try to reinvent the wheel too. Right. With training that's been around forever, and they try to rename it or rebrand it, and it's like, dude,
that's everything. Nutrition, that's diets, that's all the kind of diet for fasting and this and that, all of it. Yeah.
So,
all right, dude.
Well,
is that a wrap?
I think we're getting close here on time. So,
all right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Yeah, man. We'll definitely have you on again. Maybe a little round table or square table if you will.
Well, we'll have another chair by then. So
we're poor here.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Let's make them stand. That's the new guy.
No. Or I'll start telling people, bring your own chair.
Yeah.
Bring your own chair.
There you go. BYOC.
BYOC. Yeah. So, well, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man.
So, already.
Like and subscribe.
Like, subscribe, and share.
Yep. All that garbage.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.